You mean to tell me you can't bully and push over the Idaho Fighting Potato Wedges on 4th and inches? Michigan, on the other hand, and this is their problem, they're not reloading like a Georgia. They are rebuilding. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you are having a great Labor Day weekend. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. Man, oh man, it's here. The first recap video of the 2024 college football season has arrived. I'm trying to stay calm, cool, and collected in this intro, but words really can't describe how excited I am to get into this video, and hope you guys are excited as well. This is normally one of the fan favorite videos throughout the season where it's a simple process. We recap what happened on Saturday. If you are a new subscriber or you're new to the channel, welcome to our community. We're just a bunch of guys and girls who like talking about college football. It's as simple as that. Saturdays we do reaction videos, sometimes live reaction videos at that, and Sunday we recap it all. In this video, we're going to talk about all the big time games, all the important stuff that happened, stuff like that. Some of you may be saying, well, Matt, why are we doing the week 1 recap technically before week 1's over? Because today we got a good top 25 matchup at USC and LSU, and then Monday we got the Seminoles trying to bounce back. In all honesty, I just don't feel the need to wait for those games to be over to do this video, so we're going to hurry up and do it now. Although we didn't have a lot of great games on Saturday, like some of the games we thought were going to be close weren't, there's other games that made up for it. For example, one of the biggest headlines in my humble opinion was Vanderbilt upsetting Virginia Tech. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, heading into this game, Vanderbilt was a 14-point underdog. Vanderbilt kind of shocked everybody and upset Virginia Tech, which is supposed to be one of the more decent teams in the ACC, 34-27 in overtime. Vanderbilt tried to blow the game because before they even went into OT, they missed a field goal kick for the win. If you didn't see this game, the only thing you need to know is Vanderbilt's got a pretty dang good quarterback that goes by the name of Diego Pavia. Dude can play, 12 for 16, rounding up here, 200 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 INTs. QBR of 82.6, and on the ground he had 104 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. Take a look at this. After the game he stated, quote unquote, "Some people from over there called me a poor man's Trace McSorley. When you stop me, then you can talk." What about that? He's got some swagger and moxie to him. I like it. I don't view it as cocky because the definition of cocky is overestimating your abilities. He balled on him, so he has the right to talk. Great start to the season for Vanderbilt. On the flip side of Virginia Tech, well, it's kind of embarrassing. We know this. I've been saying it the past couple of years. The ACC is hot garbage. You got Vanderbilt, which is supposed to be a bottom feeder in the SEC, upsetting Virginia Tech. Same thing happened last year. You had Kentucky, who was a below average team in the SEC, beating Louisville, a team that went to the ACC championship. The SEC proves again why they are the best conference in the country, and it's not even close. And oh yeah, by the way, for the people that hate the SEC, that's not my opinion, it's a fact. Moving along here, at 11 a.m., Georgia beat the absolute snot out of Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. Since I talked about that game for 20 minutes yesterday in a reaction video, I'm not going to talk too much about it now. And there's no reason to talk about it. You know what I'm going to say. It's the same thing I said yesterday, and it's just common knowledge. Georgia's the much better team. I hate sounding like a broken record player, but I will continue to say it until he's fired or resigns or whatever happens, or until he changes his way. That's a better way of putting it. But he's proven time after time he's not going to change his ways. Dabo Swinney is a dinosaur. He has failed to adapt, therefore his team and program is suffering the consequences. And when I say adapt, let me clarify. I'm not talking about the transfer portal. I'm talking about his coaching ways. What made Nick Saban the greatest of all time was his ability to adapt when he really didn't want to. Nick Saban was not a fan of the no-huddle offenses, scoring 50 points a game, but he knew if he wanted to keep Alabama at the top, remain a perennial powerhouse, he was going to have to get with the program, and that's what he did. He went after Lane Kiffin, and the rest is history. A few years after that, what happened? This whole transfer portal thing opened up. He wasn't a fan of it, but he still used it. My problem with Dabo outside the transfer portal is he is still coaching like it's 2015, 2016. My prediction for this game was Georgia 35, Clemson 20, so I guess I gave Clemson's offense a little too much credit and Georgia's defense not enough credit. Don't get me wrong, Georgia has one of, if not the best defense in the country, but it also helps that Clemson doesn't know what they're doing on offense. That's enough about that. Drew Lauer and Penn State, they take care of business in Morgantown. I'm kind of disappointed the game wasn't closer. I expected West Virginia to be a little bit better, but overall, the better team won. What about this? Iowa? 40 points? Am I seeing that correctly? A 40 burger from the Hawkeyes? I don't even care they played a cupcake. That is not something I'm used to seeing. Little Bro State took care of business. Jeremiah Smith, one of the best young wide receivers in the nation. Texas did their thing. Arch Manning got in there in the end, and that was pretty cool to see him get a touchdown pass, and I think he's going to be a really good quarterback for them once Ewers leaves. At 2:30, Miami beat the absolute similar to the Georgia and Clemson game. They beat the absolute dog crap out of Florida. I can sum this game up in about 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and do it. Miami has an outstanding quarterback. They're big, strong, fast, and they look like old school Miami. At least they did in week 1. If I was a Miami fan, I'd be feeling really good, and also I'd be extremely excited moving forward. On the flip side of the ball, Florida is exactly who I thought they were. Billy Napier's not SEC material. He should have been fired in year 1. I've been saying it, and I will continue to say it just so people know I'm right. I wish I could tell Florida fans, oh, you're not competing with Miami because you don't have the talent. No, it's a coaching problem. If I can keep things short and simple, that's what I like to do. Let's get a move on. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. I talked about that last night whenever we uploaded that video at like 12 a.m. I've slept on it, and I actually rewatched with all the other games. I rewatched it this morning. And although I stated in last night's video Connor Wigman didn't play so good, when I rewatched the film, I think I gave him too much credit. He was bad. Outside the 2 interceptions, he was underthrowing and overthrowing receivers all night long. And I thought his protection wasn't that great, but the offensive line for A&M did hold up a little bit. And what I'm having a hard time deciphering is whether or not Notre Dame's secondary is elite or Connor Wigman's just not that good. I think it's a combination of both. A&M's offense, they really struggled last night. The defense was really good. You held a Riley Leonard-led offense. I mean, he is one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the nation to 23 points, and it was 13-13 late in the fourth quarter. Connor Wigman put his defense in terrible positions multiple times, and you held him, like I said, to 23 points. You got to be proud of the D. It's the offense that really has you shaking your head going, man, if we could have just mustered up a couple more first downs and some decent plays, we would have won this thing. Life as a Texas A&M fan, though, you get your hopes up every single year and you get let down every single year. New season, same story. What about this game? Michigan was only beating Fresno State, what was it, 16-10 at one point? And I had everybody and their mama tweeting at me, man, what's going on with Michigan? I had all my buddies saying, dude, can you believe this? They're barely beating Fresno State. And I was kind of baffled that people couldn't believe it because, yes, I could. Y'all don't understand. Michigan winning the championship last year, that was just a perfect storm. They're not a top-tier college football team. It was a one-year thing. I gave them all the credit in the world last year, and they were outstanding. I've said that 10,000 times. But I guess people just forgot on that team last year. What made them so good is, yes, they had a great quarterback and they had talent. They had certain pieces that could compete with your Alabamas and Ohio States of the world. But what made them so great is how many veterans they had on the team. They had so much senior leadership on that team. It was ridiculous. That's why they gelled so good and they rarely made mistakes. So heading into this current season, number 1, they lost all those guys. And number 2, you lost your starting quarterback. And number 3, you lost your head coach. You lost basically your whole team. This is a new football team. Let me give you a comparison. Whereas with Georgia, when they're coming off of those multiple championships they won a couple years ago, Georgia didn't rebuild heading into this year or any other year. They've just reloaded. They lose a couple of pieces, but they just plug in the next 5 and 4-star and so on and so on. Michigan, on the other hand, and this is their problem, they're not reloading like a Georgia. They are rebuilding. I'm not too shocked about that. Their quarterback, Warren, is he going to be the guy the remainder of the season? Don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. From everything I heard in the offseason, I thought Alex Orji was going to be a starting quarterback, so not too sure what happened there. I wasn't following their quarterback competition too much because I didn't hear anything about it, and I just assumed Orji was going to be the starter. But if you keep up with Orji, you would know, and I assume this is why he lost the quarterback job or battle, whatever you want to call it. He can't throw a football. Regardless, they did piece it together at the end, and they won by 20 points. And I'm not going to be too critical on Michigan because there's another team, a top 3 team at that struggled with an FCS opponent, and if you know, you know. I'm about to get to them. Before we get to them, let's talk about Alabama. We'll do them, and then we'll talk about you-know-who. I was extremely critical in my video last night reacting to the game just because it's minor things. It was deja vu. Early in the game, Alabama, similar last year, had a bad snap, went over the quarterback's head. Also in the first quarter, within the first couple of drives, Alabama had 5 to 6 penalties. Miro got sacked, lost a fumble, and we struggled running the ball in the first quarter. Alabama was somewhat rusty. However, one thing I did fail to mention in last night's video is Caden Proctor, one of their best offensive linemen, he didn't play in the game because he got hurt in the pregame warm-up. So I don't know what happened there. If he can't return, that is going to be a detrimental loss to the Alabama offensive line. This isn't a want, but Alabama needs Caden Proctor if they want to beat a team like Georgia. Hopefully he'll be okay. It didn't appear to be something serious, but you never know. It wound up being a cakewalk for Alabama, but that's also due to the fact you're playing Western Kentucky. I'll tell you what, though, if you didn't watch this game and you're not an Alabama fan, my biggest takeaway from this game, and it remains the same after I watched the film this morning, is Alabama's defense last night was better than their offense. Before the game, Western Kentucky's quarterback TJ Finley stated, quote unquote, whether we go to Alabama and win or not, we're going to show Alabama that this ain't the regular Western Kentucky that you're just going to roll over and do anything like that. It's a whole new ball club. Alabama has a whole new ball club that people have to take into consideration that they might not be who they think they might be. He said that before the game. You know what the final score wound up being? 63-0. We've seen this story before when players talk not so highly of Alabama leading up to the game. It doesn't go in their favor, and it didn't go in his favor in this game either. I just thought it was kind of comical how he stated Alabama's not going to roll over us, and they indeed, in matter of fact, just rolled over you. And you can't say that TJ Finley didn't know what to expect. That is now his third time playing to Alabama and losing to Alabama. He played against Alabama when he was at Auburn and LSU. I'm all for players believing in themselves and their abilities, but there's believing in yourself and being delusional. That take, what you see right here, that's being delusional. I saved the best for last. We got to talk about a team in a game that I don't think anybody had circled in their week one. Oregon and the Fighting Potato Wedges, Idaho. All I heard in the offseason is how stupendously, insanely, wildly, crazy good Oregon's supposed to be this year. Which I didn't mind because I think they're a great football team. They got Dylan Gabriel, offense supposed to be really good. They got Evan Stewart, 5-star from Texas A&M. Defense supposed to be good. I get it. But when you talk so highly of your football team like Oregon fans have in the offseason, and your team goes out there and lays an egg against the Potato Wedges, it's embarrassing, man. And matter of fact, this is how bad it was. I had Oregon fans tweeting at me saying, yeah, Matt should roast us after this game. And the craziest part about it is I didn't even know this was a ball game until the third quarter. One of my buddies texted me and said, yo, Matt, what's going on in Eugene, Oregon? I pull up the score, and it's a close ball game. And in the fourth quarter, Idaho cut it to 17-14 with 5 minutes to go. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? I got to figure out what led up until this point because obviously I couldn't watch the highlights and catch up. So I look at the box score, and Dylan Gabriel, this is what he wound up finishing, by the way, 41 for 49, unreal, 380 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 INTs. So it's not like he threw a couple of pick sixes or he was struggling, couldn't throw the ball. It was nothing like that. Oregon's defense did their part, so I'm like, well, what's going on? And then I looked at the rushing. Oregon had 37 carries for $107, averaging 2.9 yards per carry. That's why Oregon struggled in this game. They couldn't run the ball, but I was like, wait a minute. Why couldn't they run the ball? There's got to be more to it. I didn't watch this film last night. I was too tired after all the videos. I woke up early this morning at around 6 a.m., and I watched the film, and it all made sense. Oregon's offensive line, I'm not lying when I say this, was about as bad as Colorado's from last year. And the reason Gabriel had so many completions and passing yards is because Oregon couldn't ever get a big play. They were just dinking and diming their way down the field. And what blew me away was there was a 4th and inches early in the first half. Of course, Dan Lanning went for it, and they didn't get it. You mean to tell me you can't bully and push over the Idaho Fighting Potato Wedges on 4th and inches? If you can't push them around, newsflash, buddy, you ain't competing for a championship. If you can't line up and get a 4th and inches against Idaho, you're in trouble. Oregon's got some major issues, and this is the equivalent to Colorado barely beating NDSU. It is. Hopefully they fix their problems. And the last game I'm going to talk about, I almost forgot about it, is Abilene Christian. I'm going to say that one more time. Abilene Christian almost beat Texas Tech. Is Texas Tech a great football team? Heck to the no, but that's crazy. Almost losing to Abilene Christian. All in all, what a great Saturday it was watching all these games, and I can't wait to watch this LSU and USC game tonight. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But